Hello everyone and welcome back to some more Warhammer Underworlds for the channel, and we have a new warband on the table today. We have Ephilim's Pandaemonium, which is from the Weird Hollow starter box, one of the two sides you get in that. Going up against the Headsman's Curse. I think the Headsman's Curse are my favourite warband so far for the game for sure. So we'll see how they do against Zichi's boys today. But let's take a closer look at both sides. We've seen them enough now that we can just quickly go through the Headsman's Curse. First, the leader is the wielder of the blade, then you have the scripter of the sentence, the sharpener of the blade, and the bearer of the block right there. Now a little correction to the last time they were on the table. The same person cannot have multiple condemned tokens, so that was done incorrectly. However, the person who was given multiple condemned tokens was a large character, 5 or more wounds, and when they die you get a condemned token additionally because they're large. So although it was done wrong, it still came through in the wash, as it were. There was still a net positive of the right amount of condemned tokens. I think one was missed, that they're supposed to gain an extra one if a kill is supported. That's the only other thing that may have mattered. Try and remember that. It's just the little things you've got to try and remember with them. It's not just one on every kill. There is certain criteria that can be met that give multiple. And here we have Ephilim's Pandaemonium, and they have some weird names. I'm going to cheat and read the cards. But being led by Ephilim the Unknowable in the middle here. He's kind of like the big boss. The rest of them are just Zichian constructs or demons, I guess. So we have Spawn Maw. He's easy to remember because he's 90% mouth. Then we have Kindlefinger, who is the one with like 6 hands. Then we have, who's this? This is Appletrax the Starfish, or Starry Fish? Starefish. Starefish, I guess that's because he's a fish with a giant eye. And then at the back there we have Flame Spooler, which is like a bird that's pulling himself out a little portal. There's what I think is happening. Pretty cool looking. They've got a mechanic where at the top of every round you have to do some stuff according to their plot card that you get with them right here. Let's see, friendly fighters with the change keyword can't be given attack upgrade. Everyone has a change keyword except for Ephilim himself. At the start of the round, after the roll to see who goes first, but before the first reaction step, play through the following change sequence. And we'll just skip the rest of the text. So you have to work through this, and it involves giving a series of little benefits and also little negatives to your team. Actually, does it specify friendlies? Yeah, friendly, yeah. So you can't influence the enemy. So we'll be working through that at the start of each round. Presumably it's each round. The top of the card is actually a bit weirdly worded as to whether or not it's only at the start of the game or every round, but we'll play every round this turn at a time and see how it goes. So we are all set up and good to go. The Headsman's Curse are going first on the right of your screen there, but we have to cover that Pandaemonium phase we just looked at. So you have to pick each one of the changers that are alive and give them a status effect. So Kindlefinger down at the bottom of the screen here was given a stagger. You choose one of them to be inspired. The Starefish, otherwise known as Appletrax, whatever. He's inspired now, so his dodge is a bit better, so he might live because he is a bit squishy. Then a guard token was given to the Maw. What is it called? Spawn Maw. And then finally, you choose a changer that hasn't been moved, and you can push them 1 hex. So that is why Flame Spooler is on the cover hex, not where he actually started. That does it for the Pandaemonium phase. Now we just need to flip objectives. That is objective number 1. That is objective number 5. They've got both extremes there. And that means 2, 3, and 4 down here. There's 3, there's 4, and this will be 2. Right there. So with that, we are ready to get started. The game got started with the Headsman's Curse activating the scripter of the sentence, who did a charge action to move on to objective 4 here, and then he tried to indict the Starfish, saying, "Hoi, this list here says you're a heretic." Rolling 2 dice, needing hammers, and didn't land a hit at all, so his dodge didn't need to be done. On his inspired side, it goes up from 1 die needing dodge to 2 dice needing dodge. He has only got 2 health though, so it's very easy for a couple of these guys to just instantly take him out. Well, it's nice to see that the dice are cursing both sides to get the game started. First activation for Ephilim's Pandaemonium was Spawn Maw, who did a charge, where he started down here to try and take a bite out of the scripter of the sentence. If he ever attacks a large target, which the bearer of the blade counts as, His basic attack actually does 3 damage. Normally it does 2, rolling 3 dice, needing swords, so he got a big fat 0 there on his roll, so no defense roll required either. Wow, this is a rough start. Second activation for the Headsman's Curse was the wielder of the blade himself. He did a charge, and he passed through the snare token, which I believe means the snare applies, because it happens if you touch it at all, even if you aren't pushed into it or anything like that. So he's staggered, which will hurt if he gets attacked. Charged down here with his massive 4 movement. Spawn Mob, by the way, has movement 5. But anyway, he tried to attack the Starfish because even though the Scriptor of Sentence failed to do damage to him, he still did condemn him. So that would have been an easy chance for a condemn token, but not if you roll a double support and swords when you're needing hammers. So he managed to whiff entirely. Ephilim himself activated for Ephilim's Pandaemonium, doing a charge up onto objective 5 over here, and opted to use his change bolt, I think it's called, right? Fiery or fierce change bolt, up to range 4. You roll magic dice because it's a magic attack he has for 2 damage. Normally he's a caster level 1, so you'd only be rolling 1 die. However, if he's within 3 hexes of 2 or more changers, which he is, his wizard level goes up by 1. So he rolled 2 dice looking for the swirl as opposed to the lightning bolt, so he got 1. And the wield of the blade, that would have been a good defense roll on some models, but not on him. He needed dodges, so that is 2 of his 5 health gone right there. For the Headsman's Curse, the Bearer of the Block activated and charged around the wielder of the blade into this hex right here, and swung that big old anvil at Starfish, and managed to get through his defense. 2 hammers, which were what he's needing, and the Starfish was looking for dodges, and he actually rolled the exact same roll as the wielder of the blade. I'm not sure what the chances of that are. I'll leave that to someone else to do the working out. But that does 2 damage, which does mean that the very pretty rainbow-ish Starfish is out of there for 1 glory for the Headsman's Curse. So although their dice rolls haven't been great, they are actually the first ones to make a score. That glory is immediately being spent on giving Lurking Crony to the Scriptor of the Sentence. If a friendly fighter who is adjacent to him is making an attack action, he counts as supporting, even if he isn't actually adjacent to the enemy as well. Also, that's their first condemn token gained as well, because Starfish did have 1. Second last activation in the first round for Ephilim's Pandaemonium was Kindlefinger, the little weird, mostly hands monster who started just down here. He moves 3, and he has a ranged attack of range 3, although if he uses it adjacent to someone it does 2 damage instead of 1. You roll magic dice for it, looking for the swirls, which he did get, and the Scriptor of Sentence, who was his target, whiffed his defense roll, only took 1 damage as a result, but did indeed take damage. And as far as I can tell, and this could be wrong, magic attacks like this can drive targets back in the same way physical attacks can, because that is important to their plans. So he is being driven back off of that objective 1 square further away. A familiar face then came back onto the battlefield thanks to the Summoned Abomination spell Gambit. If cast, you're looking for the lightning bolts. Place 1 friendly changer as out of action on a starting hex in your territory. How many times do I need to kill this fiend? Well, crit result on that, so the Starfish is back. I presume he is allowed to still be on his inspired side because that's what he ended his life on, but that could be wrong. But either way, he is back in Pog form. Oh, the returned Starfish was actually placed on the wrong starting hex for their machinations. He should be right there where he was murdered originally, and he's probably going to be their last activation, barring being killed again instantly. Starfish couldn't be punished for going back on that more dangerous square because they all have charge tokens, and the Sharpener of the Blade didn't, so he had to be the one to activate. He did a move from where he started back here, just walking into the fray there to assist the Wielder and the Scriptor, and not doing anything else. That's the first round done for the Headsman's Curse. Well, the plan didn't work out too well. Starfish did a charge to come round here onto objective 4 to attack the Scriptor. If he'd landed the hit, he would have killed him. He rolled 3 dice, needing swords, and got nothing, and he didn't get any support either. However, did forget when the second bit of damage got done, which was to the Scriptor, I believe. The Wielder got damaged first. Either way, that was 2 instances of damage being dealt in the same round, or the same phase rather, the action phase. So Might of the Great Changer should have scored, so we're just going to retroactively apply that now, which is score this immediately after the second or subsequent enemy fighter was dealt damage by your warband in the same phase. So that's 1 glory to Ephilim's Pandaemonium as well. So that takes us to the end of the first of 3 rounds, and we have some end of phase objective cards to score for both sides. Judge lest ye be judged is scoring for the Headsman's Curse, because every surviving friendly fighter has either a move or charge token, which is true, so that gives them their 2nd glory. And then for Ephilim's Pandaemonium, they're scoring Scornful Stance for 1 glory. Score this in the end phase if a friendly leader is holding an objective. He is holding objective 5, and they're scoring 2 for 9 fates, which has great aura on it. 9 fates. Score this in the end phase if the value of the objectives your warband holds add up to 9. They hold objective 4 and objective 5, thanks to the Starfish Resurrection play down there for 2 more. So as we end the first round, Ephilim's Pandaemonium is now in the lead, 4-2. So at the top of round 2, we once again have to go through the Pandaemonium after deciding who won the roll-off to go first, and it is Ephilim's Pandaemonium that is. Kindlefinger was given the Stagger token. Kindlefinger was given the Inspire actually, so no, he can't have the Stagger, it's going to have to be the Maw. So Kindlefinger inspired, that means in total there was 2 Changers inspired, which is the Inspire condition for Ephilim himself. So he is now inspired and flipped over his card. The Flame Spooler was moved 1 hex again, and the guard token was given to Starfish. There's also some glory being spent that we'll cover now. Aura of Mutability is being given to Ephilim for 1 glory. +1 dice to attack actions made by friendly changers within 2 of him, so currently he's buffing up, just 1 actually, you'd have to move closer for that to be super useful, but still. And Boundless Change is being given to Flame Spooler. When this fighter makes an attack action, each friendly fighter within 3 counts as supporting, which is real powerful. I don't think that was in focus, apologies, there we go. So that's another glory spent. The Headsman's Curse is also spending on Swift Judgment, and giving that to the wielder of the blade for their other unspent glory. +1 move, and then after they move, if they move through someone, you break the card and give them a Condemn token. So the first activation of round 2 for Ephilim's Pandaemonium was the Spawn Maw, who did a charge, but charged away from where he was with his massive prodigious 5 movement back onto objective 1. He has got a range 3 magic attack though, and he did that on the bearer of the block, rolling 2 magic dice, needing the swirls just to do a single point of damage. Got 2 lightning bolts and did nothing, but you'll notice there is another magic die there that's on a crit. That was because during the power phase, Field of Change was played, and that was the roll for it, so it did cast. If cast, you can reroll one of your defense roll made for friendly fighters this round. It persists until the end of the round. So that's going to sit next to the board just as a reminder. They get to reroll one of their dice. Also in the power phase, Helping Hands was played by the Headsman's Curse. In the first attack action made by a friendly fighter in the next activation, the attacker is considered to be supported by 1 additional beyond, beyond however many they would have, be it 0, 1, 2, etc. The first activation for the Headsman's Curse in round 2 was the wielder of the blade himself. He did a charge, and thanks to that upgrade he had movement 5, not that he needed it, but he was here. He moved through Starfish, which means he gave him a Condemned token, and Swift Judgment broke off of him as a result because it used it up. Then he attacked him, rolling, well, he was also counting as actually being supported by 3 because he had 2 supports, but as just covered he was counting as 1 extra, not that 3 does anything else, but those are both successes, one of which is a crit. Even with the reroll, Starfish was looking for blocks and did not dodge any, so that is a massive 3 damage, which once again takes him out for 1 glory, but also another glory for scoring off with their heads. Score this immediately after a friendly leader's attack action that takes an enemy fighter out of action. It is worth 2 if it's ever the enemy leader you've killed, but no, just taking the 1 this time. Oh, with the second death of the Starfish, it's actually not 2 Condemned tokens they would have now, because the Wielder of the Blade gave him a Condemned token using the Swift Judgment. Because that kill was supported, that gave an extra Condemned token. So that means they have 3, which means all the Headsman's Curse are now inspired. Ephilim himself activated, staying where he was on objective 5, and although he was point blank, he attacked the bearer of the block with his magic attack, his fiery change bolt, instead of his, what is it called, warp staff? Yeah, for reasons. So up to range 4. His wizard level goes up to level 2 on his inspired side, so that's why he was still rolling 2 dice despite not having 2 changers within range. Getting a crit and a swirly, which is what he wanted. and the Bearer of the Block dodged 1, but couldn't beat that crit. So it did 2 damage to him, not enough to take him out because he hadn't been damaged yet. He's got 2 health left. There's the 2 damage there. But he is also being driven back down here by that attack. As we continue with the game, heads will roll should have scored when the 3 condemned tokens were gained from the starfish dying. Score this immediately after you gain your 3rd or subsequent condemned marker. So the Headsman's Curse are now up by the 1 glory they've got from this card. Second activation for the Headsman's Curse was the Scriptor, who charged forwards 1 square onto objective 4 there and shouted out some accusations at Kindlefinger that he's so small down there on the left. Rolling a hammer and a sword, so he was looking for hammers, and Kindlefinger needed a dodge, and even with the reroll did not get it. Now he does have a rule where any damage he receives is reduced by 1 to a minimum of 1, but the Furious Indictment or whatever it's called does 1 damage base anyway, so that's him 1 hit away from death. Well, up at the top of the map, Ephilim activated and did a charge off of objective 5 there, over to where you can see him over here in order to do a spell attack on the Sharpener of the Blade, looking for swirls again with his wizard level of 2, and managed to whiff it entirely. Independent of that though, they are spending a glory to give Writhing Tentacles, lovely, to Flame Spooler, who hasn't really done that much besides sit on objectives, but still can't be given to a large fighter. I'm not sure why it specifies that, because none of their fighters are large, but either way, reaction after an activation or power step in which they were dealt damage, you can choose to heal them or push them by 1. Well, they're definitely going to curse not killing Sharpener of the Blade, because he activated and did a charge down to here in order to attack Kindlefinger, sorry, the thing that is all hands. Rolling 2 successes, looking for swords. Even with the reroll, he was unable to block. Damage reduced down to 1 again, didn't matter because the Sharpener only does 1 damage. But that is still enough that he is out of there for 1 glory. Oh, no, I was forgetting something. The Scriptor counted as assisting that because he was adjacent to a friend thanks to his Lurking Crony upgrade, which means that was the second attack this turn that was assisted, so Eager Assistant is scoring for 2 glory. Score this immediately after a second or subsequent successfully supported attack action made by friendly fighters in the same phase. This is the original attack by the wielder of the blade. Hey, I called him the right thing first try, I didn't say bearer. Oh, the luck is shifting for Ephilim's Pandaemonium. Flame Spoiler activated, did he charge onto the recently vacated objective 5. He did his basic attack, which I think is throwing a fireball. What is it called? Flame Splash, which has the Warp Splash rule. But you have to deal damage, and he needed swirls, he got lightning bolts, so another spell attack action that just entirely whiffed. He was aiming for the Bearer of the Block. That isn't apparent because it's range 3 maximum. Well, swings and roundabouts, I guess, dice luck wise. The Bearer of the Block did a charge to go after Ephilim himself, rolling a single support and swords when he was looking for hammers, and as a result doing nothing, and taking us to the scoring or the end phase for the second round. At the end of the second of 3 rounds is a bit disastrous for both sides because neither is scoring any end phase objective cards, nor are they doing any other additional card plays just yet. They might do once they've cycled their hands, but we'll cover that at the top of the 3rd round. So at the top of the 3rd and final round, the Headsman's Curse will be taking first activation, but we have to go through the Pandaemonium stuff again. Because there's only 2 changers, you work at the top of the list, work down, stop when there's no one else that it can be applied to. So Flame Spooler has been inspired, and the Maw, which I think you can make out over on the left of your screen here, has been given a stagger token, and then you just stop, because there's no other changers. Their last unspent glory is being spent on the Fires of Change and being given to Ephilim himself. Gives him a range 4, 3 dice, needing swords for 2 damage. However, the reaction is if it deals damage, for every adjacent fighter you can choose to heal them by 1 or damage them by 1. So there's a bit of an AoE blast of change. So we'll see how that works out. So the Headsman's Curse activated the Wielder of the Blade, however they did actually spend a couple of glory on upgrades in the start of the round there. Death to Mercy, this fighter's attack actions have ensnare, so it just avoids dodges counted as fails. And Ethereal Immunity, both being played on the Wielder of the Blade himself, so that means double successes are always successes for his defense rolls, neither of which are relevant to what he did because he attacked. He charged over onto objective 2 and attacked Ephilim in the face, getting a crit and a hammer, both successes, and Ephilim could not defend, so he took a massive, which is probably hidden by the Bear of the Block's giant face, 3 damage. Ephilim has 1 health left. Not a great start to the round for Ephilim's Pandaemonium. Ephilim himself activated, tried to use his spell on the bearer of the block, got a crit, and unfortunately, so did he. So they counter each other out and no damage is dealt. However, he is also then playing Latching Tendrils, which is lovely. Choose one enemy fighter and push them up to 2 hexes so they are adjacent to one or more friendly changers. So the bearer of the block is getting pushed 1, so he's right next to Flame Spooler right there. Second activation for the Headsman's Curse was the Scripture of the Sentence. Did he charge up to here, did not try and kill Ephilim, opted instead to just indict Flame Spooler over there, giving him a condemned token, but not actually able to do any damage. And that's because he can score Gather a Crowd when his activation ends as a result of not killing Ephilim. Score this immediately after an activation step if 3 or more friendly fighters are within 2 of the same enemy fire. Those 3 are all within 2 of Ephilim for 1 glory. The second action for Ephilim's Pandaemonium was the man himself again, once again casting a spell, once again targeting the bearer of the block, and once again being countered by an equally good defense roll. He rolled a crit and a success, and the bearer of the block rolled a crit and a single support. He's actually doubly supported because they're both adjacent to him, so, and the upgrade as well on the scripter. Actually, I think that one might have been just for attacks, but either way, the single support also counts, so he took no damage. Oh, the Headsman's Curse are pulling away with it at the end here. The Sharpener of the Blade did a charge, his old itty bitty little self right there. Took a swing for 1 damage, I guess Ephilim only rolled the 1 success. He needed swords. It didn't even roll any supports or double supports. But Ephilim was looking for dodges and got nothing. So he is out of there for 1 glory. And also a 2nd glory is being scored for Bound in Servitude. Right here in a second. There we go. Score this immediately after a friendly Chain Rasp's attack action takes an enemy fighter out of action. Don't need to read the OR condition because the first one was met. So they are very far ahead now. Second last activation of the game was Flame Spooler for Ephilim's Pandaemonium. Sans the Ephilim. Stayed where he was, attacked, needing the lightning bolts on 2 magic dice. He actually got 2 successes, which counters the 1 success in the defense roll for the bearer of the block. It only does 1 damage. Now, if it wasn't the last round, we would see a mechanic. It does warp charge to anyone within 1 of the target, and then at the start of the next round they take 1 damage, but there isn't another round, so it doesn't matter. He will score Rampant Spellcasting, although we weren't 100% sure whether or not spell attack actions count when it says cast 3 or more spells. Like, does spells cover spell cards, gambit cards, etc., and spell attacks, or does it literally just mean one or other? Not sure. It's not going to make a difference to who wins today, so it's going to score for them. And it's pretty fun art, actually. He is just blasting, which is very funny. So that's going to score for 2 for them. And to add insult to injury, last activation of the game for the Headsman's Curse, the bearer of the block had to activate because the other 3 are charge tokens. He turned to Flame Spooler, whacked him, needing hammers, of which he only got 1. Flame Spooler needed dodges on 2 dice and got none. So he took 3 damage to the skull. Actually, did any of his upgrades reduce damage? No, they did not. No. He would be able to heal if he lived, but no. 3 damage is exactly how much he has, so that is another glory, and it does mean the only person to activate for the other side to end us off is Spawn Maw. Well, hilariously, there was one thing Spawn Maw could do. He charged and then used his magic attack, which is called, what is it called? Warp Blaze. Range 3, 2 dice needing swirls for 1 damage. He got a crit and a swirl, neither of which was blocked by the bearer of the block, so he took 1 damage, which is all we had left. He is out of there. A ghost actually died for 1 glory, and then he actually scores another glory for getting Violent Change. Score this immediately after an enemy fighter is taken out of action by your Warband spell attack action. See, that one specifies it has to be a spell attack action, or a warping counter, which is what we just talked about from Flame Spooler. So that is worth another glory to them, and that takes us to the final end phase. So at the end of the game in the final end phase, there is no additional cards being scored by either side. If the Headsman's Curse had just had 1 more upgrade in hand, they could have scored Tools of Death for an additional 2. It's not going to make a difference. It was only Spawn Maw left on the table for Ephilim's Pandaemonium, but the final score, Ephilim's Pandaemonium have 2, 4, 6, 8 glory, and that plays 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So the Headsman's Curse had them by 4, which they're, first showing on the channel. They're a little weird, not sure how you're supposed to play them. Obviously, Ephilim charging in by himself was obviously a bit of a suicide run, but that was in an effort to score more cards. That was to score, what was it? The closing the circle, which would have been worth 2. That's just for having 3 objectives held at the end of an enemy's power phase. And if it kept casting spells, it could have got Arcane Mastery. If a changer had just gotten a kill with a bog standard attack action right at the end there, it would have scored an awful end. It's only worth 1, but the picture on it is hilarious. It's pretty funny. But the Headsman's Curse did better than expected. Hopefully kept track of the condemned tokens successfully there this time, which is why they inspired. And obviously being inspired is a big help because of their stat increases. But anyway, sincerely hope you enjoyed watching some more Warhammer Underworlds. There is certainly more to come. It's a very addictive game. It's very fun. Please do remember to show your support if you want to see more. And if you want to go above and beyond to support the channel as a whole, please consider becoming a channel member or pressing the thanks button. It helps out and is all reinvested in the channel. Helps us pick up new releases. Enjoy the rest of your day and see you next time. Ta for now.